Okay.
Abs.
Hello.
Well, before we went live, I was just tearing my hair out trying to make shit work. Oh my God. I'm topless.
Because it's 12,
Boobs
it's
out.
probably like 14 degrees here.
It's boobs out Monday.
Yeah, we can't see them. So thankfully, you're cut off there.
Yeah. It's a cooker, and I'm upstairs. And then if I turn the AC on, it's just so loud in my head. So, anyway.
Okay. Yeah, you're baking.
We're gonna have a short one, half an hour probably.
Fine.
Yeah.
We'll make the best of it.
So you just got off the phone with who?
Oh, my psychic. And I wish I could share. But what I can share, because it's a pivotal week in my life. I went to the Killers concert last night. We waited for 7 hours because it said it started at 4. So me and the kids were tearing across town at 3, and I said, "There's going to be lineups. We're not going to find parking." We get there and there's like 2 people lining up. I was like, something about this is off. And then I felt bad. I'm like, what if the Killers come to Halifax and no one shows up for them and they're performing in a crowd of 10 people? I'd feel so bad. We're like, oh, this is really bad. So then we get into the grounds. And it's 12 degrees and rainy. So we're freezing cold because we didn't know it would be that cold. It's just the weather just turned. And we're sitting there and we're kind of trying to figure out, why isn't anyone here? Well, it's a music festival and the Killers don't come on stage till 9:30. And right now it's 3:30. And we can't leave because once you're in the enclosure. So the kids are like, for fuck's sake, Mum, we've got here 7 hours bloody early.
7 hours.
Because there was different bands that started to play, but they were like unknown, they gradually built momentum and you got better and better, more high profile bands. But we're sitting there with drizzly rain, just waiting. They're like, I'm cold. The music sucks. And this is their first concert experience. I'm like, it'll be great, guys. It'll be totally worth it. And they're like, well, we know it's going to be fucking worth it at the end. Of course it will, because it will be the Killers. But we've got
So you can't sit on the grass because it's wet.
Exactly. And on my feet were freezing. So anyway, lots of complaints. And then they come out at 9:30. And of course, these guys have figured out how to perform.
They've been doing it long enough.
And he's got this real... because they've got that kind of, it's just different. When you're in Canada, you forget the American way, and he's got that Frank Sinatra, just smooth,
Swank. Big
smiles, tight suit, and he's got that showmanship. That's what it is, that American showmanship that's just like ding, amazing. But also really, I mean, their playlist was amazing.
Yeah, he's an interesting fellow because when their first album came out, it was so incredibly pop and revolutionary. Like that first album was like, I remember going to a A&B Sound, which is no longer in Canada. Like it's like a real record store, right? Like HMV or Virgin. And me and my drummer, Sam, were looking through albums, trying to find something. And then I stumbled across this Killers album. And I was like, dude, come listen to this. Because remember, they had those little headphones.
Yeah,
you could
little
plug
booths.
Yeah. And it was like, holy crap. Like, it was so different. Like, this 80s synth rock had not been done. And that was probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago, maybe longer.
No, 20.
20 years ago. Yeah, that album. And it was so different than anything else on the radio. Amazing. And then fast forward 20 years, the latest album they put out, I don't know if it's the latest one. What was it called? Something, it had a picture of the cross.
3 crosses. Yeah, something machine. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah, Pressure Machine.
Something along those lines,
yeah. And I was like, Killers, like their new stuff didn't really, and he's quite, on his videos, he's quite cocky, right? Like, and I think that's part of the shtick. But then I listened to this album and I was like, wow. Like the guy has got heart, and it was so, I mean, I think I was reading up on how they went to this small logger town. It's like this mill town with and I think he kind of like set up shop there and just lived there with the people.
Wow.
And if you listen to the lyrics of that album, it's incredible. Like some of the songs really move me, and not many songs do. Like when they come up on my playlist.
Like Pressure Machine, I've listened to 100 times.
Oh my God. Even thinking about the words right now makes me feel funny.
I've that chorus in particular, the
Da, da,
getting
da,
by.
da, da, da.
Maybe it's the getting by. It's basically men just working through their
Yeah,
life, like slogging it out.
yeah.
The
And they
pressure
got
machine,
and they've got the
amazing.
song about the woman who gets beat up, or the
Yeah,
cop that's kind of a bit of the outcast in the village, and
yeah,
yeah, it's incredible. And I can't help. I don't know if you remember, because we were raised on some of the music. We were raised on Christa Berg.
yeah. He's got a bit of that.
He's totally. I've always felt like he sounds like the way his vocal comes across, and even the way he writes a melody is
Yeah.
so much like Christa Berg, who's like the king of cheese in my
I know. You wouldn't want to put it on him, but I know. But and the eyebrows, because Krista Berg had literally farmer eyebrows,
I
what
don't
you'd
think.
get in the country.
Yeah, I don't think
That
anyone in America, Canada knows who that is. Well,
would
he wrote
know.
Lady in Red, right?
Right. Okay.
Lady in Red.
I haven't I don't know if that gets played around here. They might not even know that.
So when we were in a band, when I had my band, we were contacted by this guy who would come into a lot of money and was creating a label, and he loved our music. And in the indie scene, our music was pretty well polished. And he's like, I want to bring you out to our farm. We've built a recording studio. We want to record a song with you. And it turns out that he was the guitar player for Krista Berg.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Krista Berg had all studio musicians, right? Like, he didn't have a band.
Right.
And so he toured with Krista Berg. And so that was his kind of claim to fame. But it was a little cheesy because he was like milking this thing. And I'm like, dude, is that your only claim to fame? And it turns out his producing was not our style, and I think it offended him. I was like, dude, I just don't like the way you're...
But he might have been a bit of a has-been if that was his biggest trumpet to blow, was Krista Berg. Like, that's not got much edge, really.
Not really.
But what was amazing is I was standing there listening to their classic hits one after the other, and I'm going through my own personal kind of moment. Like, there's a lot going on in my life, and I was kind of in this moment where I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through the next few weeks. It's going to be a really intense few weeks. There's a lot of new things going on and big decisions being made in my life. And he starts singing this song, Be Still, which I've put on my Instagram reel.
Yeah, I saw it this morning.
And the artwork or the graphics were a ship going through the ocean with an octopus trying to drag it down into the water. And it's basically just the lyrics were like, stay on course, don't falter, keep going. You know, and I was listening because I'd never heard it before. And it was almost like the lyrics were telling me, then do this, then do that, be still, do not falter, do not let it take you down, just stick to the line, hold your ground. And it was pretty profound. Like, it was, and there's something kind of worshipful about some of their lyrics. There is that kind of ethereal, you know, there is that spirituality to it. So it was really moving, but I wasn't expecting that moment. And I'd never heard the song, and the lyrics were so powerful and potent that it felt like it was just bam. You know, occasionally you get a song where it's just speaking to you directly.
Yeah.
But really, really powerful performance and very moving. So I felt like that came to me in a moment when I needed it, and I wasn't expecting it to come from Brandon Flowers, which is such a funny name. My kids were like, Mum, we want to match make you. You guys would be the perfect couple. I said,
is that what they said?
Oh, yeah. They're like, oh, I said, I think his wife might have something to say about that because he's married with 3 kids. But
those are details, Mum. Details.
Yeah,
we can snap them out.
Yeah, I know. They said, when he next comes to town, could you just lie on the stage and present yourself? Like, pretty sure he'd think that was a freaky thing to do. Like, most men wouldn't take that too well. Slightly. But yeah. Very, very, you realize when you're in a big crowd and a big performance, like, I do not go to concerts. This is my kid's first concert, and it was a great one to start with. The energy, and it is something where you think, oh, I wish I did this more often. Like, to see a decent band, there's actually very few bands that I would be interested. Certainly if John Mayer came to town, I would want to go to that one, because you've been to at least one of his.
I've been to 2 of his.
And were they both impressive?
Oh yeah. I mean, I
And you
think.
got flack for it.
Oh yeah.
You get John Mayer flack.
Oh yeah. I was in Vancouver and there was a band called Muse. Well, you know Muse.
Oh yeah. Oh my
Muse are
God.
playing
Yeah.
at another venue at the same time. That's
And you
Vancouver for
chose
you, right?
John Mayer.
And a friend of mine, I didn't want to go to Muse because I didn't buy tickets and I wasn't a super fan. To be honest with you, their music just sounds samey after a while. Like their musicianship, I have seen Muse live, and their musicianship's unbelievable for a three-piece
Really?
band. But
Wow, three-piece.
yeah, oh yeah, it's incredible. But then a friend said, "Hey man, I got tickets to John Mayer. You and Sam want to come?" And we're like, "Sure," because we weren't even planning to go to Muse. But all of our friends in the music world were going to Muse, and they were just, "Oh my god, cheesy," you know.
Elevator music.
But I think if any band makes it to stadium status, you're gonna get a good show. Like you don't go, like I remember when we went to a festival here where, man, the lineup was incredible. It was like Jay-Z, Coldplay, Nine Inch Nails, Def Cab for Cutie. I mean, the list goes on. All my favorite bands like Interpol, Wolf Mother, Vampire Weekend. I mean, Tragically Hip. Yeah, it was a one-off. I've never been to a festival, and it was a 3-day festival. Tara and I had just started dating, and we got tickets, and it was bonkers. Tom Petty was there. Flaming Lips were there.
Oh my God, just too much.
It was unbelievable.
Like Glastonbury.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And there was bands that I'd never really got into, like Nine Inch Nails. Never really got into them, never really raised on the heavy scene. And they were the openers for the festival. And I was sitting at the back, kind of like way in the back of the field. And I was like, and I was like mesmerized. Like their live show, incredible. Like their light show is almost, I think it's patented. It's unbelievable. Like they have a curtain that comes down that you can't see, but it's all LED lights, and he'll touch it and things will happen. Like it's just wild.
And that was 20 years ago, probably, or 15.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. And then Tragically Hip, a full-on, Canadian staple band. Never really been into them. Saw them live, and his showmanship was unbelievable as a frontman. Like he do them. He would act drunk, and he wasn't drunk. He would drop his mic on the floor and then trip over his mic and flick it up with his heel and then catch it. And then do weird things like take his mic stand apart and pass it out through the crowd. I mean, you can't do shit like that in a massive crowd, and sometimes it would just fall on its face, right? But he would like stand on his mic stand like a surfboard. And it was just crazy. It was so mesmerizing.
It was sheer entertainment at that point. You're just, and then huge Jay-Z, entertainment.
Don't like any of his music. He had a brass band up there, and it was incredible. So I think any band that makes it to that kind of level, it's like seeing professional sports. Like I'm not into tennis, but I bet if you went to Wimbledon, it would be like So what stood out of that whole festival? What would you say would be the band that took away the prize as the best performance? Man, it's so hard to say. Like there was a lot of my favorite indie bands playing on stage too, but I would say Jay-Z surprised me a lot. Tom Petty, I passed out because I drank so much I blacked out. Like I've never blacked out before, but I literally don't remember anything.
That's awesome.
I was drinking.
And now he's dead, and now you're regretting it.
I know. I totally missed it.
I went to a Tom Petty concert and I blacked out.
Yeah. And I've never blacked out before. I was like full on passed out. And thankfully people took care of me. But
was this the festival where you didn't have any filters for your coffee and you use your boxes as a filtration?
Yeah, so we went to the festival, and you had to smuggle in alcohol. There was no alcohol allowed. You had to buy it in the site. So and it was a shit show because they weren't organized enough, and they didn't have good enough security. So we smuggled in a case of water and then put vodka and gin in the middle, like took the water out. And the lineup was like something out of a zombie movie. Like the lineup to get in was like miles and miles of traffic, and then everyone was just getting wasted in the lineup. It was just chaos. So they'd make you park in a airport, an old abandoned airport, and then these school buses would come in like one after the other and load you up and take you into the campgrounds. Well, as soon as a school bus came in, hundreds of people would run for it, and it would be filled in a second, and people were like hanging out the door, and it was crazy. And so we ended up just driving to the grounds and just throwing all of our tents over the fence and parking our van in the bush somewhere. And turns out we set up camp in the staff campsite because we had to move. We just grabbed our tent. And yeah, so anyway, the lineups were insane. There wasn't enough vendors. And so I brought coffee, but Tara didn't pack the plunger. So it was our first altercation as a couple because I was super ticked off that she didn't bring the coffee plunger. So I had this idea of I'll take some of my underwear and I'll lay it over the mug and pour my coffee through it. And I called it a cup of Hanes because I was wearing Hanes underwear.
That's brilliant.
Everyone was laughing at me. By the end of the festival, there was a lineup outside my tent. Yeah, I'll take a cup of Hanes. And I thought of this great business idea. I'm like, what you should do is every band that plays, you take the lead singer's underwear and the night after he plays, and then you filter all the coffee through it the next day, and you'd have through Tom Petty's sweaty ginch. I'll take a cup of that.
It's just like you to think of a business.
Oh yeah, immediately.
Instant business.
Yeah,
idea.
I know.
So,
but
remember
the worst. From that festival, one of the biggest bands was Flaming Lips, and probably those three bands. The biggest disappointment was Coldplay.
Of course, and why was that?
So disappointed. I left, and it was the last headline of the night. And I went home and I went back to my campsite, started packing up my tent.
And you could still hear them in the background, probably.
Yeah, because I was so stoked to see them because they came out kind of like Pressure Machine with the Killers. It so impacted me, that album. Well, Viva La Vida was like, I didn't like, after Rush Your Blood to the Head, I checked out with Coldplay. I'm like, you guys are sellouts. Then Viva La Vida came out and I was like, wow. Like this is, I mean, the lyrics and some of that stuff is amazing. And I thought, oh, this guy has really gone through some stuff, And so I was really excited to see that was the Viva La Vida kind of tour. Right. And they got up there and they played, what's that? Hear Jerusalem bells are ringing.
Oh, yeah.
Like those lyrics are amazing. Like I used to rule the world, I used to walk these streets alone, like really kind of like connecting the dots. And they played that song and there was a video projection of Coldplay in a room playing violins. That dun 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 dun.
Right, because they didn't like comical.
You know that violin part that starts it all.
Oh yeah.
The strings part. Well, they didn't have the
strings actually live
on stage, so they projected it on a screen, and they were running around stage like this jolly, like, hey, how's everyone doing? And I was like, fuck.
So no soul.
Completely ruined it for me. Like, yeah, they were just, every song was the same type of, like when you see Bono, like I don't like U2 anymore, but when you see him sing Bullet the Blue Sky or any of these songs, like he is in the song. Like if it's a happy song, he's happy. If it's a really deep song, a political song, he's angry and mad, crawling on the floor for his life, like, angst.
The drama is there, yeah.
Yeah, and they were just singing like you had your iPod on, just like hit next, next, and I was just so agitated. I was like, fuck, I'm out of here.
Well, what's funny is I saw a reel with Chris Martin the other day, and he said, people think I'm a really positive person, but that's actually because I have a lot of negative thoughts in my head. And he's overcompensating, I think, way too much to become this Pied Piper type, everything's
bouncing
rainbows.
Around.
Yeah, and kisses the ground when he comes on stage. And for me, it's like, actually, I would rather know more about your more darker side, because he seems to be overcompensating by creating this jolly good show that's very, very, everything's got to be happy, happy, happy. And that's where I've lost my taste for them, because, oh my God, in lockdown, some dance. Oh, the latest one. So we pray.
He wears these short shirts, like they got shrunk in the dryer, and his belly's popping out.
Okay, why do you wear clothes that are too small for you? And this last one, that's why we pray. This prayer.
God.
Oh, shoot me
that's
fucking now.
That's why we pray. With every famous person he knows, rubbing it in your face that he's like friends with all the big...
He managed to get Noel Gallagher on one of his albums, and I thought... And Noel Gallagher said, I only did it because he's my friend. Like, you could tell Noel Gallagher's there, just not... And there's a choir, and it's all just... Oh, dude, like it started out
even
so
the song's
gritty.
Not that great. Like, it's not that great.
Terrible.
Like, it's really...
It's embarrassing. Yeah.
Like when I saw Russia Blood to the Head on DVD,
Yeah.
back in the days, it was all black and white. It was intense. He was behind the
Yeah.
piano. He was slightly awkward,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Tom York, like that awkwardness,
That was probably Parachutes, their first album, because you said Russia Blood, you kind of, they
No.
went a bit more poppy. So
Well, no,
Parachutes was the first one.
Parachutes was, yeah, but it was Russia Blood Tour.
Okay.
And that was a really good album because he was still like hiding behind his piano and his guitar.
Yeah, okay.
Like I don't think he ever took the mic without an instrument, which means you're kind of a little insecure, right?
Right.
And
so, but it was after that you went off them in Tel Viva La Vida. Yeah, like X and Y.
Oh God, terrible. X and Y was terrible. It was just a whole bunch of hit songs just crammed into an album.
Well, they're just arena boys, aren't they? Well, I guess even stadium. I guess they can fill many, many stadiums. And then now I just read the reviews for entertainment, like his latest one, which is probably called Rainbow Sparkles or something. I think it's actually got a rainbow on the front. Like he's ridden this weird rainbow wave for a very long time. It's just so weird. But anyway, the reviews, the most entertaining part of the whole thing. I just looked up like 5 different reviews, like Rolling Stone review, and it's just like, this is diabolical, because they always go grandiose, like intergalactic, it's all very like huge and big.
Yeah,
like,
stars and
when I was sorry, go ahead.
I did like Ghost Studies.
Oh, Ghost Stories was the breakup album.
That was him breaking up with Gwyneth, and I thought that was fantastic.
That was
I played it. I had a speedboat, and it only had a CD player, and I had that CD in there, and there was no other CDs. So we would be a summer's day, ripping down the ocean, going for a barbecue, and that album would be playing all the way there and all the way back, and it was really like slash your wrist kind of stuff, and my kids are just rolling their eyes, and I still love that album. I think it's fantastic.
It is an amazing. I mean,
he is an incredible songwriter.
Yeah, no doubt, he's amazing at melody.
He's just given into this
their way.
Yeah,
he's to me the classic liberal now. Like we're gonna cross all the dots and make sure we don't offend anyone, and do something that's going to cater to every gender. And they've lost their edge completely.
You kind of wonder what his band think, because they're pretty, like his bass player is pretty moody, and I mean, they must just be paycheck. I mean, they must just be like bringing in the money. Like,
do you remember that we watched it together? Their documentary, and normal documentaries about bands, there'll be the drug use, there'll be, the worst thing that Chris Martin did was he lost his temper at the mic guy, and he comes out of, I think they're midway through a concert, and he's like, "Oi, sort it out!" And that was the drum. Yeah. And then the music starts. It's like, that was a dark point in the band. So there's very little drama with these boys, I guess, because they haven't done the rock and roll thing, which is probably good. But it was just funny because that was about as bad as they could find. Like, "Oi, sort it out."
I remember when we were touring, you know what a rider is? Like a rider is what you request to have backstage.
Okay.
And most clubs at our level didn't have a rider. It's like whatever's back there, that's what you got. So some venues would say, "What do you want on your rider?" And I would ask my NyQuil, because I had terrible. Yes. That was when I was dealing with insomnia, and one of the promoters was like, "Bro." He's like, "Most bands ask for like a bit of cocaine, some weed, some Jack Daniels. You ask for NyQuil? Like, how rock and roll is that?" I remember we played one club in Calgary, and they had this incredible rider back there. It was like all the high top shelf liquor, hard liquor. Ooh. So we were inviting everyone back to the green room, saying, "Come on, man, look at all this booze." Well, at the end of the night, they gave us a bill.
No.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
And it was it was a shit show, and all 3 bands had to split it. You never told us that.
That's clever. They were sneaky. Did you notice I saw that Bono was just on Joe Rogan, and I didn't listen to it, of course, but the comments, no thanks, mate. Why, Joe, they always just brutalize Joe Rogan for hosting these people. They're like, why? That's it. I'm passing on this, And I did think, why the hell is he having this guy? Does he know nothing? Although maybe he just wanted to quiz him about I don't know.
I think that what happens is because I noticed that these guys go on their book tour or their
Mm.
music tour or their political tour because they'll go from one
Yeah.
to the next. You say, oh, he's got Lex Friedman's interviewing him
Yeah,
now. What's
yeah.
going on? So I
Next
think,
week he'll be on. Yeah, they
yeah,
do
so
have
I
a
think their
little.
promoters will reach out. And I mean,
Mm.
if Bono comes across your inbox, you're probably like, eh, you know,
Yeah,
like Joe just does
yeah,
what the hell he wants, right?
yeah.
But I
I
listened
think a
to
lot of
it.
people passed on it. Did you listen to it?
Yeah, I did. It was mixed emotions. Like, um, you know, I don't know. It was there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to remember now what my feelings were about it. I mean, sometimes I listen to these things and I'm like, bro, you've got no idea how the struggles of the
Mm.
regular man. You know, like we're just like you're so fucking rich.
Mm. Out of touch.
You try to, yeah. I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't
Mm.
terrible. There was some definitely conflict over the USID aid and
Mm.
cutoff and his stance on that. But yeah, he was very interested in Joe's life and kind of probing Joe for stuff.
Okay,
But
which we've all heard.
yeah, but I can't remember honestly the ins and outs of it.
Okay,
But
so it can't have been that.
there was things that were pretty barfy. But
Yeah,
um,
nothing stood out.
Joe was kissing his ass pretty good because I think that's what it was. So Joe was on and on and on about this live Jimmy Kimmel or something show on TV, and I remember he wrote this song for some black leader and he sang it
Okay.
with Edge
Okay.
on it with an acoustic guitar, and I remember seeing it live when it came out and thinking, oh my god, that's so cheesy and
Mm.
I don't like the song.
Mm.
um and Joe was thought it was the most amazing thing that he'd ever seen in his life and kept on and on and on about it. Just felt like he was kissing his ass a bit.
How weird.
Yeah, I find
Not like
when
him.
musicians get too into nowadays politics, they lose something because music's really supposed to take you away from that, isn't it? I don't
Mm.
know.
Yeah, he's a bit of a sellout for sure.
He's a bit of a preacher.
Yeah, it is frustrating when they start kind of getting siloed into different camps. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, that's a good way of seeing music, really, that it shouldn't be, it should be quite neutral in some way. Well, not neutral because you can have really strong opinions and, have your soapbox, I suppose. But when it gets political, that is a bit.
Yeah. Like Sunday Bloody Sunday was one of their biggest songs, and that was about the stuff that's going on in Ireland, and I think that was a
Right.
great song.
Mm.
But I
It's
don't know.
just when they get involved with politics that we don't like, then isn't it? It's like,
That's
now
right.
calm down.
Now
You're
calm
going to
down, matey.
Ukraine and singing with Zelensky and doing a flipping duet with Zelensky.
Yeah.
Calm down now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Ah.
interesting. Yeah, live music is. So when you went to see John Mayer, when you got that ticket invite, were you aware of him or were already into him, or did that really get you interested in him? And why did you get to a point where he was acceptable to you?
Well, we were still in the band there. We were kind of on the way out, maybe, of winding things up. And I think you can't deny that Gravity is an amazing song. I don't think anyone would deny that.
Mm.
Yeah, maybe they would. Um, but yeah, no, I remember leaving that concert and texting my producer, because my producer, who Gabriel, who lives in the
Mm.
States, he was saying that his like John Mayer's one of the like he's an incredible live performer, and like in a
Mm.
stadium he can fill it out. And I was like, what? So it was a free concert, and I thought, fuck it,
Mm.
go. And I think the first one, just I remember texting Gabe, and I'm like, holy shit, man, I understand what you mean.
Mm.
Because John, like when you play there's certain bands that cannot translate in a stadium. There's just it's too big a room. Like they're meant for small rooms, small venues.
Mm.
And you get them in a big room, and they kind of like, I remember seeing The Cure in a stadium,
Mm.
and I love The Cure, and it was really shitty. Like
Really?
there was no connection.
Mm.
Like you do need this larger than life, or I mean, Tommy York doesn't do that, but his music is so out of this world, better than anything on the planet.
Mm.
He doesn't
He
need to
doesn't
move.
need to. Yeah.
He's so eccentric that it's captivating. But John Mayer comes out with an acoustic guitar in a stadium and plays for 35, 40 minutes with just an
on
acoustic
his,
guitar with no band. And you're like, and it's incredible. It's
and
captivating.
his ability, his blues music, you know,
Yeah.
what you get on the album versus when he's doing the blues thing.
Yeah.
You don't always get that from his albums, but he's really
No.
accomplished at it. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
people he has in his band are seriously incredible musicians, aren't they?
Yeah. He had this black drummer and he did a drum solo that was like the most simple drum solo. Like it wasn't like all over the place. It was just like like this. And oh my God, like it was so tight and so simple. It was like unbelievably good.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, he plays guitar solos for like on and on and on. Like on the album, he cuts it off, right? Because you got to finish the
Yeah.
song, but he'll just go off. And now realize, you know, being really into John, I think there's something about, like, I'm still a bit embarrassed to say it with my musician friends that I like him. Um, but for me, I think I was so cooked with music, like more intense music. Like John Mayer's stuff was just so easy to listen to. And I
He's
think
very
there's a
spacious. His music's spacious, so I can have him on in the home when I'm doing, and I
doesn't
I
cost
don't get
anything.
bored of it. It doesn't tax me.
No.
And I'm not saying it's like elevator music. It's just spacious music that is sticks, and you're like, oh wow, he did that hit, he did this. Oh my God, he's done his repertoire of music. I remember listening to radio. It was in the car. There was a John Mayer track, and then the DJ said, for all the grief that people give John Mayer, you've got to respect the fact that he has pounded out so many amazing hits that people aren't necessarily aware of until you start hearing them. You go, oh, wow, yeah, he nailed it there. And I think I love the spaciousness of him, and he's the type of person I could listen to for a lot longer than some of these more, like Radiohead, I can listen to, but gets a bit heavy after a little while. You know, it's I know Tom York would say he would hate to have people say his music's depressing because he doesn't see it that way, but it is pretty intense stuff. It can be a bit heavy.
Amelia's into
Yeah, my
Radiohead now,
kids.
which is great. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what my kids love. Yeah. They
Yeah.
like the kind of more grungy stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, because I came out of like music was one of the best times of my life, but also physically it just taxed me so much because I was so obsessed with songwriting. And so every album I would like dissect it and try and glean in, like it was just like work for me. And that's where my insomnia was birthed out of, right? Was the obsession with songwriting. And so listening to some of that music, it kind of triggers me in a PTSD-ish kind of way.
Right, the heavy stuff, the intense stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I love that music, but I can't handle it. Like I notice when I'm by myself, like I was working yesterday and the family had gone and I was like, I was just playing like classic rock or blues music, right? Because there's something, that Brit rock that I just absorb so much of, like Dubs and Radiohead and Oasis and all of these bands. It brings back a little bit of bad memories for me or something. Like it costs too much to listen to it. Whereas music like John Mayer's, it just, yeah, like you say, it just can play in the background. It doesn't tax me. It doesn't, it's enough pop and enough soul. It's just the right mix. You know, but I'm kind of like, it's like a guilty pleasure. I'm kind of ashamed of it, you know, but then you talk to any good guitar player and John Mayer is right up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
that's what's so funny when you
talented.
see them do collaborations where you realize, oh, you know, like Dave Chappelle and John Mayer are really good friends. And there's this respect that goes, there's this respect between, I mean, that's a comedian, but musicians who will say, oh, I've always respected what you do. And and there's a different level, like you say, the showmanship. You're judging them on lots of different levels. Like that person is amazing live. I wouldn't necessarily listen to them on CD, but amazing live. And there's that respect you can give that artist. And I think with John Mayer, he's stuck around, he's done the hit, he put the time in, he doesn't take himself too seriously. He is very ironic in that he does this soft rock 80s puffy leather jacket album covers where he's taking the piss of his like Long Train Coming.
Oh yeah, it's got like two keyboard player with two keyboards.
And
he's just
and he's got his Casio digital watch on, and he's just kind of able to laugh at himself and go, cheesy rock, you know. Whereas someone like Ed,
isn't that album called Sob Rock?
Yeah, so like he's completely taking the piss out of himself. Whereas someone like Ed Sheeran seems to take himself quite seriously in that he's producing cheesy music and he's not ironic about it. He's taking it seriously, and I'm like, no thanks, I'll pass on that one. Yeah. Even though I respect the fact he's a one-man show, people say he's phenomenal, but it's cheesy love songs, isn't it? And I guess I like the irony of John Mayer, where he's able to take the piss out of himself and realizes that he's being judged for that. Therefore, he leans into it and owns it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. I mean, life's serious. It feels to me, in my personal, like, life is serious enough as it is. That I just don't have the bandwidth for intense music as well, on top of everything else. Yeah. You know, and when I was in music, that was my serious, like, that was my business. So that was full absorption, right? Like and so most of the music I choose doesn't cost me anything to listen to it emotionally. Yeah.
And that's when you know you're middle-aged, you start listening to talk radio and you don't want intense music. Like, a bit too much there.
Mind you, then Pressure Machine really moved me, and I still love it. So I don't know. It's like, I don't understand it. We're going to see Elbow in a couple of months. It's a whole schwack of us going down to the States to see it.
That will be so nostalgic. I mean, that is an era. And again, a lot of people wouldn't know of that band here. Yeah. I don't think.
They're pretty big now.
Are they? Okay.
Looking like a beautiful
day. I mean, that is their big ultimate hit, isn't it?
Yeah. How many bands wrote Beautiful Day songs?
Yeah. Too many.
U2, Delirious, Elbow. Yeah. There's lots of them. It's like New York. How many bands wrote songs about New York?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's really kind of, when you see a live band, it takes a couple of days to recover, I think. You're just kind of chewing it over. Yeah, it's good though. It's inspiring.
Yeah, it's fun.
You're watching artists. Like, it's an art form, isn't it? And
Yeah, I was watching your Instagram and I was like, man, I need to do more stuff like that in my life that's just fun. You know, I mean, I just find, like, I just get so dragged into the farm here and the projects and all of this, and it's like, you know, going to do something like that that's just whimsical fun is so good for you, right? Just to, like, lose yourself. And I just find I rarely choose that path. It's like, and I think there's a fear of, like, I don't want to let go because then I might really let go. You know, like, I don't want to start crying because I might not stop. You know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you do really, but getting off the treadmill to just take a moment is very meaningful, especially at our age where you're on that treadmill pretty much like permanently. You have to consciously choose to step off it at this point. And it almost feels uncomfortable to do so. Whereas when you're younger, you're having to apply yourself to get on it in the first place. Yeah. So that's what I find interesting about this stage of life, where the kids are getting more independent and you're realizing, oh no, I'm used to all of this dependency on me, and it's going to feel really uncomfortable for it all to disappear, because then I'll have to create a new identity. We're so far in that the thought of having complete freedom is a bit like, I don't know if I can handle that. How can I keep these kids in? Let's start a business together. You know, how can I kind of lure them into collaboration?
Yeah, we're institutionalized in a way, right? Institutionalized in our rut that we've created, this life that's just kept on going. And the thinking, I mean, it's like empty nesters, right? They just freak out.
Yeah, and I think
Abby,
purpose. You've got to go.
I've got to go. I've got a meeting.
That was a good band chat. I'm glad we get to talk about music.
A bit of an escape, hey?
From it's
reality.
Good. Oh, very opinionated. You're crap. You need to go. Get out
I
of
know,
it.
we're going to lose so many people now. Now they know to be
She's
like John Mayer.
yeah. Yeah, I know, right? But don't worry, we like Coldplay, so all is forgiven.
Yeah,
No,
we should
I
do
mean,
more of that because we've definitely got some
Radiohead.
opinions about
Oh,
actors and
I'm such a
musicians.
snob. I'm such
Yeah,
a snob. When the kids start to, I'm like, well, they're crap. No, not listening to that. And they're like,
I
Mom, you're
know.
so judgy. I'm like,
Oh,
I'm entitled to be judgy. That's a pile
Tara
of
says
shit. I'm
that
not
too.
listening to that.
I know. Tara says that too. She's such
Like,
a music snob.
well, completely, but I own
She
it. Like,
listens to this. Yeah, carry on.
go for it. No, I want to hear this because it'll be funny.
Oh well, I come home and if she's got if the kids are all gone
Celtic
and the house
chimes.
is empty, yes,
Is that what it is?
it's Celtic.
It's not the
like,
panpipes, is it?
you know, my least favorite instrument in the world is bagpipes.
Bagpipes.
I can't fucking stand bagpipes, and Tara loves them.
What,
So
you
I'll
mean
come
there's
home
bagpipes?
and it's this Irish jiggy.
Shit.
Sometimes it's not jiggy. Sometimes it's like this ethereal flute. And I'm like, Amelia and I stare at each other and our eyes are just rolling. And we'll give it like 30 minutes and then I'm like, can we change the music?
This is crap. And then they'll look at you like, this is, I have good taste in music as well. You're like, no, you don't. Get out.
You don't. I know.
And my kids are like, you're definitely the most judgmental person I know. I'm like, I don't know how else to be. If there's shit music, it's offensive to my ears.
Amen. Have an opinion and be proud of it.
Exactly. That's what's entertaining about critics, is they have an opinion. That's the whole point. On that note,
see ya. Bye-bye. Love you.
Goodbye. Love you.